good afternoon everybody. Welcome to the free online Log 360 workshop series. Today is the fourth and final episode of our workshop series where we'll be looking into auditing databases to protect your confidential data. My name is Niyati and I am a product specialist with Manage Engine's IT Security Solutions team. So here's the agenda for today's workshop. First, I'll be talking to you about the importance of database auditing. Why is it required? I'll be talking about the general reasons why database auditing is important, as well as the compliance aspect of it. Followed by that, I'll tell you how you can enable auditing on various database servers and how you can use our product to get the logs from those database servers, which then can be used to generate actionable reports which are really useful to your organization. So, the importance of data auditing. Your ability to answer very detailed questions about what is going on in your organization's databases can make or break a compliance audit or security investigation. Aside from the obvious need for this information in the event of a breach, it is also important because various government, financial, and health regulations and fines are related to data scrutiny, and these have intensified in the previous few years. So you need to be able to answer a variety of questions such as who exactly
Please give me a minute,
accessed
okay?
or changed the data
Please
within
give
your
me a
system?
minute.
When was that data accessed or when was the data changed? How did that specific user gain access to your data? And was that change to the database table approved before it was made? And as well as something very important, a very important issue is checking whether the privileged users, that is the users who actually have rights over your data, whether they're abusing their unlimited access and whether they are actually doing something that is harming your database or compromising it in any way. Answers to these kinds of questions are central to issues at hand during a typical compliance audit. You need to have systems that monitor and ensure that sufficient data logging and protection is in place. Database auditing gives you that capability, and our product Log 360 allows you to perform really comprehensive and efficient database auditing. So I'll talk to you a bit about how the compliance aspect of data auditing, why data auditing is important. So various regulatory policies have certain sections and clauses that talk about the importance that put some specific regulations on data auditing. So just as an example, here are a couple of clauses from the SOX compliance policy. That is, Section 302 states that the management has to implement control to consistently produce reliable financial information. And of course, we all know that all your financial information is being stored in the form of databases. And SOX section 404 states that an external auditor must report on the reliability on that management assessment. So when you're drafting a security policy for your organization, just think about how you can translate clauses like these into specific security requirements. How exactly is it that you can demonstrate database use with SOX? So the main issues that need to be addressed are the separation of duties. That is, the SOX audit cannot be corrupted by your administrators. And also accountability. So every change that happens to all your financial reporting data needs to be logged, and you need to feel ensured that every change is logged. And also details, that is the exact database query that occurs and the associated response which needs to be logged. And of course establishing a baseline. So what is the normal activity on your database and what stands out as unusual. Is there any anomaly that is happening? Is there anything out of the ordinary that you need to look into? So basically, you have to capture all the activity on your database and be able to identify any attempt to access the database. And our product provides you with various predefined reports and alerts for your databases, which you can use to demonstrate all of this and much more. So now I'll talk to you about how you can enable auditing on various database servers. I'll show you an example of how you can do this on the Microsoft SQL Server database. But before I do that, I'd just like to make a note of the fact that we provide predefined alerts and reports for Microsoft SQL Server as well as Oracle Database Server. So if you these are actually the databases that are widely in use by most organizations today, and several smaller and medium scale organizations also make use of open source databases like Postgres SQL and MySQL. So if you are using any database, any of these databases, you can audit them too by using the import log feature, which I have shown you in last week's workshop. So you can simply import these database log files in case you're using Postgres SQL or MySQL. You can import their log files and generate various reports for them. So now I'll proceed and show you an example of how you can enable auditing on SQL Server. So what you need to do is, first, on the database server side, you will have to open the SQL Server Management Studio application. Followed by this, you'll have to perform a couple of steps, that is, which I'll be showing you. You'll have to create an audit object, and after that you'll have to create an audit specification object and associate it with the audit object that you've just created. After you do this, on the Log360 server side, you'll have to add the database server as a device, and then you'll have to add the database itself as an application that needs to be audited and associate it with that device. So I'll just show you how you can do this. I have a remote setup over here. So this is actually my database server. This is the device on which I have my database server installed. So first, I'll open Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. You can just open this and you can try this with me if you'd like. You'll have to, of course, log in as an administrator. So the first step is creating an audit object. To do this, you'll have to expand the security node over here that you see on the left hand side. You have two lines over here that mention audit objects and server audit specifications. These are the two objects that we'll be concerned with today. So first, right click on the audit object line that you see over here and click on new audit. So basically, you're creating a new audit object that can send the various database logs to the application logs of the Windows device. So Windows logs various events in the form of event logs. So this application, that is Microsoft SQL Server, we are creating an audit object that can send the logs to the application logs of Windows Event Viewer. So simply provide a new audit name. So I'm just going to be calling my new audit object as, say, just May 11th audit. Then I have to provide the audit destination as application log. As I just told you, we are going to be sending these as application logs to our Windows event logs so that Log360 can capture them. Click on OK. So you have now created a new audit object. Next, what I'll have to do is create a server audit specification that actually details what are the various kinds of data operations that need to be associated with this audit object. So come to server audit specifications, right click and select new server audit specification. Once again, provide a name for this server audit specifications. I'm just going to be calling it May 11th audit object specs. and associated. In the audit column, associated with the audit object that you have just created, that would be May 11th audit. So now, next you'll have to provide the various action types that need to be logged. So the ones that we recommend, which we provide various reports and alerts for, are the following. I'll just show you what all we can add. So we have several over here. Of course, if you're going to be selecting everything, it may get a little out of hand. You may have like way too many logs, which can cause some space issues and the like. But I'll tell you the most important audit action types that you can add. That would be the failed login group. So this obviously tells you about various failed logins to your database server, followed by the successful login group. So I'm just going to be showing you. Then there is the database object change group. That is when any sort of DDL statements occur, that is the create, alter or drop statements occur, they are going to be logged under this audit action type. Next is the database principal change group. So with the various events that are classified under this, such as when users again are when users are created or altered or dropped from the database. The next audit action type is the schema object change group. This event is raised when a create, alter or drop operation is performed on a schema. Next is the server principal change group. The server principal change group or action type relates to all the events which occur when the server principals, that is the users, are created, altered or dropped. The next action type is the login change password group. This action type is raised whenever a login password is changed by way of, say, an alter login statement. And the final action type is the server state change group. These events are raised when the SQL Server service itself, the state of the SQL Server itself is modified. So these are actually the most important events that occur on your database and which need to be monitored at all times. So we have selected these audit action types and associated it with the new audit object that we have created, and then we click on OK. So you can see over here that we have created a new audit object and a new audit specification object. The final step is to enable these two objects. So again, you can right click on the objects that you have just created and simply select enable. So that's about it. I have shown you what you need to do on the database server side. I encourage all of you to try this out along with me. If you have any questions or doubts, do feel free to ask us or send us an email. So coming back to my Log360 server side, I'll show you what you need to do on the Log360 server side. So as I mentioned, you'll have to first add the device, the Windows server on which your database server resides. Followed by that, you'll have to add the Microsoft SQL Server as an application which needs to be audited and for which you need to create reports and associate it with the specific Windows server. So I've already added the Windows Server as a device for auditing and monitoring on my Log360 server. I have shown you how you can add various Windows devices, various log sources on Log360 in the previous workshops. Again, if you have any doubts or queries, you can simply shoot us an email or ask us in the live chat and we'll be happy to help you out. So I'll just proceed to show you how you can add the application. To add an application, you can simply go to the settings page, click on Manage Application Sources and click on Add Applications. So over here, you'll have to pick the device, that is the Windows server on which your database server resides. So that would be this machine over here. Of course, it's already added. I'm just showing you how it is done. And the application type is SQL Server, of course. And after that, it's really simple. You just have to click on Add. I have already added the SQL Server. I was just showing you the steps on how you can do this. So now comes the part where we look at the various reports that we provide. So I've shown you how you can enable auditing. After you do this, you can use our product Log360 to collect the logs and generate various reports. So these are the types of reports that we provide for Microsoft SQL Server as well as Oracle Server, but I'll be showing you the SQL Server reports today. So we have various user account management reports. So as I said, it's really important to be monitoring your privileged users and ensure that all the database users are performing only the database operations and transactions that they are allowed to, and that they are not actually doing something that is compromising the integrity of your data or database. So for this, we provide you with several user account management reports. And of course, you have data operations that occur at the database and table level, such as various DDL and DML statements, that is data definition or data manipulation, data operations that are occurring, for which we provide you DDL and DML reports, as well as the server level reports, such as whether when new database objects are created, like the audit object and the audit specification object that I just showed you, these are classified under server auditing reports. And finally, we also have quite a few attack reports that help you find out when any attack attempts are made on your database server, so which helps you strengthen the security of your organization and ensure that there are no further attack attempts ever made on your database server. So I'll just show you where you can find the various reports. You go to the Reports tab of the product. So over here you have various reports available for the various applications. So here we have the SQL Server reports. We have 5 report groups that, like I mentioned, we have the DDL and DML auditing reports, the account management reports, server reports, server level reports, and security reports. So the GDL reports are to do with the various created and dropped databases, and then also the created and dropped tables, views, stored procedures, index, triggers, and schemas. You can, of course, you can see the data for any of these reports. I encourage you to download our product, add your database server, and actually try out these various features and generate these reports for your database and look at the various information in a very clean and efficient way. So let's just look at selected tables. So these are the DML auditing reports. We have the various DML statements, that is select, insert, update, and delete, as well as reports for when a command is executed or received, and when a schema is of course inserted, selected or updated and so on. So you can see over here that our server is capturing the application logs from your Windows server and showing you the various operations that are happening. So these are all the select statements that have been executed. You have a really neat and clean report over here that simply tells you very clearly about the various operations that are happening. So it really makes your life much more simpler. You don't have to actually go through detailed like logs, which are actually really tough to go through manually. You can just generate reports over here, or you can even create real-time alerts which alert you instantly either via an email or an SMS when any event of interest occurs on your database server. Now, as I mentioned, we have some other report groups such as user account management, which tell you about the various important activities that are happening with regards to the users of the database, such as when a user is created or modified, a new login is created or modified, various password changes that are successfully or fail to execute, as well as various database roles, application roles, database credentials, and so on. So these really give you a complete picture about how various users are handled on your database server. And here you have the various server level activities under the server auditing reports. So when your database is backed up or restored, you have reports for that. When any permission changes occur or when any administrator's authority is changed, when any owners are changed, you can simply click on the report and find out the information that you need to find out. So of course, we just recently created a server audit object and a server audit specification object. So we have near real-time auditing for your database servers. It's so every 10 minutes it fetches the logs from your Windows device. I'm not sure if my Log360 server has as yet collected the information about the audit object and the audit specification object, which I just showed you the creation of. You can always go to the Home tab, click on Applications, and see the details of the various application servers that have been uh, added to your system. So you can see over here, this is the database server that we have just been monitoring, on which I showed you the addition of the latest audit specification objects. I'm just going to fetch the logs for the specific Windows server so that it's really up to date. So here, this is the specific Windows server of my data on which my database server resides, and I can click on Scan Now. So it's fetching the latest logs. So you can see that every 10 minutes it's scanning that specific Windows server for the latest logs, and I'm doing it instantly just so I can show you how it's actually gathering the information in near real time and how you can get instantly notified and how you can always know about what is happening on your database server. So it's completed scanning my Windows server. Let me go back to reports. So these are the server level reports that I spoke to you about. So if I click on created database audit specifications, or altered database audit specifications, I'll get the information about the audit object that I just showed you. So you can see that here we have the information about the audit object that I just showed you. So you get near real-time information about all the activity that is happening on your database server. So finally, I'll just talk to you about the various database attacks that could happen on your database server. So just as an example, I'll talk to you about the SQL injection attack, which is quite a common attack that many organizations face on their databases. So this is an attack that involves both your web applications as well as your database server. So the SQL injection attack is a way in which a malicious user can use a vulnerability in your own system to gain access to your database through your web applications. So a malicious user residing somewhere on the internet would access your web application, and then they would say you have various forms in your web applications. They would fill in some data in the form that is actually able to uh, hack into your database and make the database server dump all its contents to them. So the SQL injection attack is really pretty dangerous. If you don't have checks in place, malicious user could actually make use of your own web applications and get your database to dump all its important and confidential data to them, and they can this way they can steal really important data from you. So we also have various attack reports under the security reports. So these are the various attacks for which we provide predefined reports, like I mentioned, SQL injection or various other attacks such as denial of service or the storage media exposure, account lockouts, if there are unauthorized copies of your sensitive data being made, as well as privilege abuses. So this way, this provides you with a holistic and complete and comprehensive view of your database server and the various transactions and activity that occur on it. So you are able to actually monitor it 24/7 and know always what is happening. And also, if there are any attack attempts made, you can immediately take steps to correct it and protect your database servers. I'd also talk to you about compliance. So if you need to view the various predefined compliance reports that we provide, you can simply go over to the compliance tab and generate predefined reports for various compliance policies such as FISMA, PCI, HIPAA, SOX, like which I spoke to you about in today's workshop, and various other policies. And of course, another really cool feature in our application is that we allow you to create custom compliance reports, which may not, so this keeps in mind future needs of your organization. If there are any new compliance policies that come up, you can always use the custom compliance report creation feature and uh, create a custom compliance template which generates reports to meet all your auditing and regulatory audit needs. So that's about it for today's workshop. If you have any queries, do write to us at log360-support@manageengine.com, or you can even use our live chat feature in this workshop and we will try to address it immediately. I do encourage you to download our product, try out the free trial if you haven't already. You can simply access the various features, see how it really makes life simpler for you when you're trying to meet all your auditing needs for your organization. So I hope that you have all got some value out of this workshop series. If you have any feedback or suggestions, do write into us and we'll definitely try to incorporate this uh, into our workshop series from the next time. Thank you very much for attending this series, everyone. Thank you.